Hello, all the amazing recruiters watching today. I know that you guys look forward to our Tuesdays as we invite influential people in the recruitment industry to come and spend time with us and serve you guys as recruiters to really be able to take advantage of the current environment, to avoid the pitfalls, to take advantage of the many opportunities that are available to us. And today I'm very, very excited, probably more excited than all of my guests put together. And I'm saying that without trying to offend our previous guests. But we have MJ Bronkhorst here today. He is the sales director for PNET, that everybody knows, every recruiter knows, as you know, a platform that does more than just a job board. You know, you really go out and share the values that we do at Placement Partner, which is to really go out there and make a positive difference to recruiters' lives and their businesses and serve the industry as a whole. So welcome.
Thank you, Shirley. Thanks for the opportunity.
It's a pleasure. I know that you wanted to share some of your experiences and your observations that you've made over the last couple of months, really filling us in on some of the trends that are happening, and just giving us some top tips on really to help avoid any of the pitfalls that we can so easily fall into, and then also highlighting some of the great opportunities that are out there for us that during tough times is sometimes difficult to recognize. So I'm looking forward to that.
Sure, thanks Shirley. I think firstly, just to kind of ring fence what I'd like to share with the audience today is focusing mainly on what we've experienced since the start of April, which was essentially the time where South Africa went into a hard lockdown, and I think most businesses had the most severe impact. And then just gradually seeing what's happened on PNET specifically, as well as within specific sectors, and understanding what the gradual improvements in the market is that we've obviously observed on our side. So, I mean, essentially, let's just start by normal site stats. I mean, I'm happy to report to the audience that overall our site is performing extremely well compared to the same period last year. Our total visits, for example, at the end of September was up by 19%. Unique visitors up by 24%. Our application rate is up by 33%, but I think that's to be expected considering the number of people that have been negatively affected by obviously the lockdown and COVID and companies having to downsize. But then again, there's been a steady increase in the database as well, with our monthly database growth around the 6% mark. But if you look at the top 5 sectors on PNET, which I'll highlight a little bit further later on, we've seen about a 49% increase in the number of candidates that either come and load their new CV or update their CV within these 5 sectors. And those are the 5 sectors which we've seen traditionally the most movement in. But it does really, it highlights a big opportunity. And I mean, you alluded to the fact earlier that along with challenges, there's often opportunity. And I think the opportunity here is the fact that there's a lot of really good skills available in the market today. So and I'll talk a little bit about what I believe clients should be doing at this stage, especially if you do have those vacancies. But there's a good share of talent and those companies that really are aggressive around making sure that they have the available vacancies will obviously be in an advantageous position to acquire those good skills that are so desperately needed in many of our sectors right now. If we talk about September, just quick stats, you know, our unique visits was about 1.5 million. Overall visits to the website was just short of 4 million. We had about 7.5 million listing views on PNET, and we generated just over 2 million applications during the month. Still slightly, how can I say, not where we necessarily want to be, but what we can say is that at the end of, or let's rather say in the middle of April, we generally hosted about 14,000 positions on PNET. At the beginning of April, mid-April, we sat with about 5,000 vacancies. We're grateful for the increase in the market, and we'll talk about that a little bit later again. is we're now seeing over 9,000 positions. So almost double the number of vacancies that we had towards the middle of end of April on PNET. They've doubled over the last couple of months. So really encouraging to see that growth. And really what we would like to do is just encourage clients to continue showing those vacancies and advertising those vacancies, because we don't believe at this stage that that is a true reflection of what the potential in the market is. Just quickly looking at the 5 top sectors that we have within PNET, we're talking about IT, banking, finance, engineering, accounting, and then sales and purchasing. From an advertising perspective, overall, we had about a 42% drop in content between April 2002 and 2020 and September 2020 versus the same period last year. However, in retrospect, if we have a look, or in comparison, if we have a look at September 2020 versus September 2019, you're only seeing about a 20% decrease. So it shows you that we've got incremental improvements every single month. And I think that's a bit of the silver lining that we need to really be focusing on at this stage is, I mean, we are very mindful, very close with all our clients and understand how challenging this time has been with them. But as much as there are so many challenges out there today, there are also so many opportunities. And I just feel that sometimes we get drowned into, you know, the why nots, the if nots, and we really need to start focusing on those opportunities that presents itself in the market right now. Because, excuse me, I spoke about the candidates earlier. So we see a decrease in the number of positions, but we see a significant increase in the number of candidates. So across our 5 top sectors, being IT, banking, engineering, accounting, and sales, we see a decrease of 20% in the listings September to September. But in that same period, we see a 71% increase in the number of candidates that are active. So for those clients that really are quite aggressive now and that are continuing to grow their businesses and look for the opportunities within the market, they have a much greater opportunity of actually acquiring those skills at this stage compared to those companies that don't necessarily make their positions known. And just from a job portal and a traffic perspective, those are some of the observations we can share. But the biggest growing sectors for us at this stage is the likes of our engineering sectors. We're seeing some really good movement in the engineering sector, the banking as well as the IT sector. In fact, the IT sector is one that probably was the least affected by the lockdown, purely based on the fact that, you know, that a lot of those functions can exist whether we are working from an office or working from home. As long as we've got internet, we can pretty much just get on with the job.
Exactly. So based on what you're saying now, what would you say are the main focuses that you would recommend recruiters to be concentrating on into the next, you know, the last part of the year and first quarter of next year?
Well, you know, Shirley, I think ultimately recruiters are very much aware of what the seasonal hiring trends are traditionally. And I think COVID and the whole lockdown period gave us a curveball and everything else. But as we can see on PNET, we saw a reduction in advertising in specific sectors, etc. But the same sectors that were our top 5 prior to lockdown remain our top 5 still. It's not as if certain sectors all of a sudden overtook other sectors. So I think to a certain degree that seasonality, or those seasonality trends that we used to experience in previous years, they still exist. So firstly is, let's make sure that, you know, we're not necessarily trying to reinvent the wheel, and understand that those sectors will still be the main hiring sectors. But more importantly, and I alluded to that earlier on, is if there are positions and there are opportunities, have them advertised. And I'll tell you why. We have, right now, we've got about 9,000 vacancies, just over 9,000 vacancies on PNET. But if we compare the number of candidate profiles that are being active or accessed on the database, I can confidently say that there are way more than 9,000 opportunities that can actually be advertised. Now, a lot of the job seekers won't necessarily know. Well, I think it's quite simple to understand. If they don't see there's an opportunity, they don't know there is an opportunity at the end of the day. And advertising and making sure that everybody is aware of those opportunities also gives you an opportunity or the ability for that candidate to contact you, even if they're not registered on PNET. So what we've done on our side, and I'll speak a little bit about that further, is just allowing clients the freedom or the capability to really highlight their brand and their business and why candidates should work for them. And if we're not advertising and adequately communicating those benefits, candidates don't necessarily know our businesses or our opportunities exist at the end of the day. What we've done on PNET is we don't only target a active job seeking market. If you go into our database and you conduct a candidate search, you would obviously know who the active candidates are. But we also have a large portion of candidates that actually register for our job alerts, which we distribute when clients advertise, and about 20 to 30% of those job alerts go to people who are not on our database. Now, I think it's important to note that that's why services like or applicant tracking systems or recruitment management systems like Placement Partner is a key tool in a lot of those businesses, because if a candidate gets that job alert, they don't necessarily want to register with the likes of PNET or one of our competitors. They don't want to be on a database, but they want to register with that specific client only because they know that that client operates within their area of expertise. Just as an example, in September, again, PNET sent out about 7.6 million of those job alerts. However, we only generated over 2 million applications. So there's a large audience of job seekers that don't want to be searched. And those are potentially your candidates who are employed, and they don't necessarily want to be called every single day by recruitment consultants or companies. But they want to have the freedom to decide when they apply and how they apply. And by having those specific platforms in place, you are creating a bit of an environment where you can gain some exclusivity on those candidates. But once again, if we're not advertising and we're not showing South Africa and we're not showing good candidates that the opportunities are actually out there and the opportunities exist, we're not going to have the opportunity to actually attract those specific candidates. We often hear from clients and they look, everybody's looking for that perfect candidate, and you need to search, and often when you really ring fence your audience, it becomes a very small sample size or pool of candidates, and that's sometimes people look at, okay, those are the only available candidates, but it's not necessarily the case, because once we advertise, you reach an audience that is far greater than the candidates on PNET, and I think that's something that clients often overlook, and something that I really would want to encourage them to do more often. Just to make sure that those candidates that are on the database and are aware of the great opportunities that actually exist in the market at this stage.
Absolutely. So you said kind of stick to what you know. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. Making sure that you advertise and make sure that you use your branding to attract your quality candidates on every platform that you can, and gain exclusivity that you earn through having this great brand that you're concentrating on. Would you be able to share any case studies where you can see best practice in attracting these quality candidates in the way you're speaking about now?
Most certainly, Shirley. I think we talk about employer brand and brand awareness and all this sort of stuff, and we often sit with clients and excuse me, and they say, yeah, we don't understand about why we should be spending money on employer branding, why everybody knows our products, etc., etc. And my argument is always, advertising your product and services is very different to advertising what it's like to either work with your company or for your company. So there's an actual budget that needs to be spent, or a focus that needs to be aligned to why candidates should work with us or for us. Now, the reason I use those two terms, either with us or for us, when you speak to people from a corporate perspective, they would leverage their corporate brand, and they would obviously then get candidates to work and understand what life is like at that specific organization. Now, for a very long time, many of our recruitment clients have actually neglected that to an extent and thought that that is very much exclusive to the corporate market because it's employer value proposition, etc., etc. But what we've now recently found is that some of our recruitment clients who are leveraging a lot of those employer brand products, like our brand personalized listings, the company hub, they are getting much better applications and better traction with those candidates. As an example, a case study we did is we took a specific, okay, it was a corporate client, but nonetheless, we took 4 of their really most challenging vacancies, and we advertised them with no company branding for a period of 2 weeks. We gave it a month break and we advertised those same 4 vacancies, but we did the company branding and we put the EVP portion and everything else linked to it. And what it actually resulted in, strangely enough, is we received slightly less applications to the personalized adverts, but the result was up to a 57% improvement in the relevance of the candidates that applied. So it's not necessarily driving more candidates to your adverts, but it's making candidates understand what your business is about, and it's prompting a much faster application rate. The historical habits would be someone would see an advert on PNET or a job portal for that matter, they'd go on Google, they would search your company, and as we know the nature of the Internet of Things, before we know it, they lost and they go somewhere else. And essentially what these products aim to do is to create an environment that enables the candidate to do their research, to really understand the organization, be it a recruitment company, be it a corporate company, but what is it like to work with them? What is your process? What do I need to do? And it really cuts out a lot of those unnecessary questions that would happen between consultant and candidate, and a lot of them are answered beforehand. And it just tends to lend itself to a much higher conversion rate and a greater rate of success at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think it really talks to really anticipating the needs of your candidates before they even get there. And yeah, as you say, there's so many candidates out there, to being able to get all those candidates to be more thoughtful about what they're applying for is only going to help us at the end of the day as recruiters be more efficient, because you know that those that have applied have really thought through the process, and you can make a faster selection based on that, because you're left with a much better quality candidate.
Just another point on that, sorry Shirley, just another point on that is also, you know, generally when we search on job portals and when we advertise our vacancies, it's very much a skills-based assessment. So you need to have a degree in this specific field, you need to have experience in this specific field. But what a lot of companies are finding, and what we're finding with a lot of companies now, is that culture is becoming more and more relevant in their world. Skills can be taught. I can't teach you to accept my culture. And I think sometimes when we do try and introduce those candidates to the culture of the organization beforehand, it tends to be more of an alignment. So if they, I don't necessarily want to say this because it might be taken the wrong way, but if there's a specific inadequacy in a specific skill, but the culture fit is accurate, you could almost be more comfortable in placing that candidate with your client compared to a candidate where all the skills are there, but you know that they won't fit in that specific environment. So it really gives you more of a read of, will that candidate be comfortable in my client's organization, and will my client be comfortable in bringing them on board? And I think that really is where we need to put a little bit more emphasis, because yeah, I think in many instances there's a lot of emphasis on the skills and too little emphasis on, is that actually the right candidate for my client from a culture perspective.
Yeah, and absolutely, once again, giving your candidate the certainty that they're making the right move. I think making a career change is a massive, it's a massive decision to make. And even if you are unemployed and committing to a business, you want to make sure that you're certain that you can deliver with this business for, you know, over a long period of time and add value. And then, yeah, we all know that that's quality placing. You know, if you can, it's a candidate that's going to give longevity to that business and grow within that business, that makes you a very valuable recruiter to any of your clients. So yeah, amazing. What sort of initiatives should we be looking out for that would help our recruiters just in their process be more efficient?
Excuse me. Well, I think firstly, Shirley, is once again, I'll go back to, you know, let's not excuse me, let's not reinvent the wheel. I think good old hard work it always pays off, firstly. You know, a lot of people tend to want to innovate. Innovate is always a good thing. I think specifically in the recruitment sector itself, finding solutions that really accommodate your candidates. I mean, a lot of these applicants and these good professionals these days, we are so becoming used to remote working conditions. So interviewing, finding platforms that we can conduct video interviews. So PNET side, for a couple of our key clients, we've brought in the likes, or we've brought in some the ability for them to conduct their video or the interviews via video. That's either through a live interview or through a prompted kind of interview. And then I also think, if you're going to be looking at converting, now we're talking to placement partners, so something that speaks to your product at the end of the day, is if you're partnering with a job portal or job portals, and you've got a product like Placement Partner, make sure that those products are streamlined and that you don't have any drop off on your applications. So what I mean by that is candidates applying on PNET being redirected to a client's registration or application page. Make sure that process is user-friendly, it's not cumbersome, so that we limit the number of drop-off or applications that drop off from that process. But at the end of the day, we've got a SME department within PNET. They conduct most of their business telephonically. And for April, May, June, while everybody was in a bit of a sad state and we were all locked in our homes, it was a tough time. And everybody, no one believed that it could be done. The business as usual has now faded away, and we need to do something different. And I think it got to around July, August, and we just said to each other, you know what, let's just get back to basics. Let's just get back to really hard work and making sure that we front and center in front of our clients the whole time. We're not necessarily speaking or selling to our clients, but we're really taking the time to understand what's happening in their businesses. We're really making sure that we determining what is the right time to engage. And when we do engage, how do we engage? Is it the traditional way of engaging? Do we want new ways of engaging? Are our meetings in person? Are our meetings via Zoom or Skype or Teams or whatever? So I think it's really starting to get a much better understanding of the clients, but also just going back to basics and just getting down and making sure that we are engaging with our clients as often as possible. And we stop selling, but we start creating solutions that obviously fit and mold around where our client organizations go at the moment. I mean, I think many people in the recruitment sector would find that although there are opportunities in a lot of these businesses, a lot of these businesses are also just redeploying skills internally. But that also brings out new opportunities. We had a conversation, I think about 2 days ago, and what we find with some of our clients is they are going into this recruitment freeze stage at this stage. And, and it's not a case of business always doing that badly. I think it's just a case of them taking stock of where they are. And it's not, what we found in 1 or 2 sectors, it's not a gradual improvement. It is, okay, now the hiring freeze is over. Now all of a sudden there are multiple vacancies available. So it's not just a case of 1 or 2. So we go from a hiring freeze to an absolute opening up, and all of a sudden there's a lot of opportunities. And it's making sure that at that time, we're in contact with our clients, and that, as I said, we determine what the right time and what the right method is for us to engage with those clients.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think when it comes to being successful, the rules never change. The basics are always going to be the fundamentals to the success. And I think, as you said, with the lockdown, it definitely afforded us the opportunity to look at different processes, different platforms, upskill in terms of our knowledge, assess how effective we were being before, and make tweaks and changes. But now the wheels are turning again, and it's time to use those things and get them into action. And I think one of the things that I've noticed is, and it didn't even disappear during lockdown, and it's so relevant in recruitment as well. The one thing that will never disappear is the importance of that personal interaction, that people interaction. And I think that's when that hard work kicks in, because that's where the time is. It's very easy to make the administrative tasks quick and easy. That's what PNET and Placement Partner are there to do. But once you've cleared those times, then it's about getting in contact with people, talking to them, understanding, relating, and making decisions based on that human aspect.
Perfect. And the one thing I can add, and one of the experiences we've had is, in the past, you would call a client and say, listen, I'll come and see you and I'll have a meeting. Now, in that time, client has to arrange a boardroom, they have to make coffee and all of this sort of stuff. And what we've now found is that it was tricky in the past. That was one of the first challenges or hurdles in building your business is being able to get in front of those clients and get them to agree to meet with you. And with technology today, we found that clients are a lot more open to having a quick 10-15-minute discussion over Zoom or Skype. There's no inconvenience, there's no arrangement, and you can get enough done during that conversation in order to plan the next engagement. And there's no longer these hour-long meetings that you generally lose interest and you lose people's focus. And it's really something punchy to the point. And you can actually gain a lot more value out of multiple engagements as opposed to trying to push everything into 1 hour, hour and a half long meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a very exciting time, fast-paced time in business, but very exciting time. But MJR, I just wanted to say thank you from our side for taking the time to spend with us. I really think those stats and those trends that you shared with us are so, so interesting. So I definitely urge those listeners to maybe rewind and go and re-listen to them, because I think, you know, if we can do that, we can really reflect on what those trends actually mean. So really appreciate those insights, and just for partnering with us. It's great to partner with businesses that share the same values, and just being able to fulfill out those recruiters' cups out there.
Perfect. Thanks. We really do appreciate the opportunity. And for your audience, ladies and gentlemen, we wish you all the best. We know it's been tough. We appreciate that you've also stuck with us and with Patient Partner. And I can assure you that we are seeing improvements. And I want to encourage you guys to just keep going. Ultimately, whatever happens to our economy, we impact the sector. We have the ability to bring hope to a lot of people that feel that there isn't necessarily hope. And that's why I encourage people to advertise those vacancies. Let's bring those opportunities to the job seeking market and make sure that we get as many of our people employed as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
On the horizon.
That's absolutely what we need. Thank you so much. And last thing, just in case anybody wants to get hold of you about any PNET related queries, what is the best way to do that?
Shirley, I probably have the world's easiest email address. It's mj@pnet.co.za. So yeah, feel free to drop in or call PNET and ask for me, and I'm happy to have a chat.
Awesome. Thanks again. Hey, see you soon.
No problem.
Bye.